Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Blissed? Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes.
Dr. Shealy, I was talking with Alex, who's engineering our broadcast this morning, and he's got the pre-calculus blues. So he's studying pre-calculus at the college level. And I mentioned to him that was, of all my least favorite classes, that was my second least favorite. My first least favorite was calculus. And I said, Alex, believe it or not, I have never used calculus since taking that class. Never, not once. Did you study calculus, Dr. Shealy?
No, I gave up at that point. I didn't like it when I looked at it.
Well, I got to tell you, if you're not in engineering, I don't know what the major use of calculus is. I really don't. But I did not enjoy it. It was pure misery, but it was required. So there I was.
Hey, Ken, don't be perfect like us, but they could try.
So, Dr. Shealy, last week you were at a workshop. Would you like to share with us what kind of a workshop that was, or not?
Well, it's what we call optimal health.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's training to certify individuals who wish to use some of our techniques in their own practice. In other words, not physicians necessarily, but just health practitioners of various kinds. So we covered all of our electrical equipment, the various things from tins to the PIMP device. We covered biogenics, which is an all-day thing in itself. We covered nutrition, and we covered the bliss oils. And so they become certified as ministers in the Nemenha church for these particular therapies.
Okay. So if someone were interested, genuinely interested in these therapies and wanted to learn and become certified, would that person be able to teach others?
Well, I would think so, although, I would like them to have a year of practice before they try to teach it. Mm-hmm. First of all, they should use it on their client, their patient.
Mm-hmm.
But before they try to teach it, I think one needs 6 to 12 months of experience before you can teach something.
Sure. And then the next question is, if they become certified and if they are genuinely interested and if they genuinely understand, and let's say they do a year's worth of practice at their location, would they then be able to become a church and receive all the benefits, the tax benefits therein of being a church while practicing?
No, they would have to actually become adopted, apply for spiritual adoption in the Nemenha church before they could do that.
Okay, I understand. So what is there any news about Nemenha working with the island nations that want to associate Royal Maya? Yes.
Thanks to your federal government. Even though the king of Royal Maya has lots of money, the federal government won't let him bring it in. Typical government bullshit, and I'm being kind.
Okay, so they put an end to that. Is there any? Geez, it's amazing how they can make the rules just do what they want. Every time I think about this,
I think they all ought to be fired every 2 years. I wouldn't even go for president for 2 years. I'd like every public office to have a maximum of 2 years in office and never be able to run for any other public office again. Once you've been in Congress, you can't run for Congress for president.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree, and they've made lifelong jobs with all the benefits, bribes, perks, gifts, vacations, trinkets.
Evil all the way, Big Blue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a saying in Missouri, and I don't know if our class has ever heard this. Maybe they heard it here on USA Prepares, but probably not anyplace else, that once a person becomes a two-term sheriff, he's a gun runner. Once a person becomes a two-term sheriff, he's a gun runner. And what that means is they have all kinds of evidence in the evidence locker. When a patrol person, a cop, finds someone with a gun, they take the gun and they put it into evidence and it just sits there. Then after a while, the sheriff's department sells those guns. They sell them back on the street. Of course, you have to go through a background check when they sell it to you, but they sell them at deep discounts. So those guns go back on the street. And where does the money go? Do you think the money goes to the family of the owner or the owner of that gun? Nope. It goes right into the sheriff's coffers. And you get to see those in shiny, waxed, new patrol cars and equipment. Absolutely true. Okay, that was one of the things I wanted to mention to you. Dr. Shealy, I got one of those calls that nobody wants to get over the weekend. And it was one that was very difficult to listen to. One of our very dear friends at USA Prepares, she's 90 years old, was involved in a car accident. And as a result of the car accident, she ended up in the hospital. And when she ended up in the hospital, they told her they had to cut her legs off.
Wow.
Above the knee. And so she had some, her legs were black, and it's because she said she was unable to wash her legs every day. And so she let work get in the way of washing her legs. And because of that, bacteria entered the system. She had a massive infection. It was not fixable according to the hospital, and they amputated both of her legs above the knee. Have you ever heard of that?
Well, I haven't, but I'm glad that I have a fetish of having a shower every night before I go to bed.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep if I didn't take a shower.
Right. Well, and that was one of the things I wanted to ask you. Many people take a shower or a bath once a day. And I think that's a great thing to do. Do you think it's better to take it in the morning or before bedtime?
Before bedtime. I don't want to sleep with the dirt of the day.
Okay. I agree with you. Okay. Lots of times I do both. And fortunately we have enough water here at the farm where I can take efficient showers. I don't have a car wash here at the house where we have these multiple water fountains in the shower where the water just flows endlessly like it's free. We don't have that. We have efficient shower heads, but yeah, okay. I was on the phone with her last night, and I asked her if she wanted to call in. I think she's still on pain meds. The surgery was just a couple of days ago. Do you think that kind of surgery is painful?
Oh yeah, I mean, it has to be. By definition, any major surgery is painful, and of course the brain is trying to adapt to the fact that it no longer has almost half of your body weight below.
Okay, yeah. And does the body? I've heard people say things like, and would be, I guess, in the media. I've heard this. I haven't actually talked to someone who's had this done, but they can feel their toes, itchy, but they don't have any toes. They don't have, as a matter of fact, they don't have feet or ankles. Is that true, or is that something that is in the media that's not true?
Most people never lose the feeling of an amputation, whether it's a finger or a leg. They have the awareness of it. Phantom limb without payment, phantom limb apparency.
Okay. And, if I have an insect bite, I can scratch it. And I can sort of make that feeling go away, or replace that feeling with a different feeling that's a little more pleasant than the irritation of an insect bite. But if you have a toe that's itchy, and you don't have a toe, what do you do? I mean, you can't scratch it, right?
Yeah, well, it can be quite distracted, to say the least. It can drive people to clinics, or worse.
Okay. And what's done at that point? So if you've got this itchy toe that you no longer have.
That's one of the places that both the Gamma Pimp would be excellent, but even TENS can help.
Okay. Back in the 1980s, I met this woman. Actually, she was a tenant of ours on the East Coast. And lovely, lovely lady, and she used her TENS unit every day. And I didn't understand what it was at that point. I'd never heard of it. First time I ever saw it. So the history of your TENS unit goes way back, way back. And can you explain what it is and how that works?
Well, again, the pathway is always there. I mean, it's sort of the etheric nature of the body. It still exists in it's some vibratory level. Even though there's no physical connection, there's an energy connection.
And with that energy connection, you can either mitigate, reroute, cancel with mild electrical stimulation. Is that
absolutely? Absolutely. Okay. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, last week a woman walked into the clinic and said, "Come, I want you to see my husband." They didn't have an appointment, but she had to show me the miracle. Her husband had come in 1 month ago in a wheelchair. It took two people to get him out of the wheelchair to put him on the table. He couldn't stand by himself at all. So I went to the door with her, and he walked 40 feet from his car into the clinic. I mean, amazing improvement in someone with incapacitating Parkinsonism.
And that's attributed to what?
The gamma cranial pimp.
There you go. Let's talk a little bit more about that when we come back. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us. He's talking about a miracle of his modern medicine. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, medical doctor, PhD times 3, author of over 30 books. And Dr. Shealy, if those in class would like to contact your office, what number would you like them to call in Springfield, Missouri, Central Time Zone?
417-267-29. Oh, my gosh, I just gave up my own number. Don't need it. Don't call that. 417-351-5221.
417 351-5221.
Yep.
Yeah. 417-351-5221 is the number to call for Dr. Shealy's office in Springfield, Missouri, if you'd like to schedule a consultation or an appointment to meet Dr. Shealy. So, Dr. Shealy, your pulse electromagnetic frequency device that you and Lou Cassidy talk about on the air, the one that you're having tremendous success with, and what has happened that an opioid addiction, which seems to be growing like it's being fertilized.
And your government, as usual, is not interested. I sent a letter to the director of corrections who runs the state prison in Missouri, Arkansas, and Kansas, thinking I could, visit them. The other two states didn't even answer my letter, and their letter did not come back from the woman to whom I addressed it in person. So a tertiary person wrote back, "We're not interested, we're only interested in using drugs." And that's
it seems like the drug companies. Seems like the drug companies have a lock on this, and there must be payoffs. There's got to be payoffs involved.
Well, of course, the federal government gets billions of dollars. The federal government gets billions of dollars in FDA from drug companies. I mean, it can cost millions and millions and millions to get a drug on the market.
Well, it's really frustrating. So what kind of success did you have with the opioid addiction? What percentage would you say has been
100.
cured of the cases that you... 100%. Doesn't get any better than that.
It doesn't get any better than that.
And so you have a perfect success rate, and they won't even pay attention.
Yeah, you got it. And I've written to one of the largest private companies in the country, and I haven't even gotten an answer from them either.
You're talking about a private prison?
No, I'm talking about one in Scottsdale, Arizona.
But is it a prison that you contacted?
No, that's a private company. They have opioid addiction treatment centers all over the country.
I see. And their interest level is what?
0.
Unbelievable. Well, it sounds to me...
Vince, I want to float by you my wildest idea yet. Purdue Fredericks just went bankrupt because of their pushing opioids. I've been thinking about writing the family of the Purdue Fredericks to see if they would like to help rectify their mistake by pushing this device.
Sure. I think it's a great idea. And let them know that we'll be talking about it until they respond.
I haven't written them yet. Maybe I'll have my attorney do it.
Dr. Shealy, this is so frustrating. I remember when we started a company in California back in right around 1980, and we had developed a revolutionary device. And literally, it was this. If you wanted to have satellite communications, you'd have one of these great big antennas, like 12 feet in diameter. You've seen them around. And they got a little bit smaller. They got down to 10 feet or so. But they were still big antennas. And they were large to focus a very, very weak signal from a very low-power satellite that sent HBO and Showtime down to Earth, in a floodlight pattern across the United States. So we developed our company. Bert Bertonis, actually, was the guy who did it. He's an instructor here at USA Prepares. He developed a down converter that would convert the signal from a very high frequency that used a cable as thick as a garden hose that was hardly bendable into one that was that common TV cable that you use for cable coming into your home. I'll tell you a little bit more about it when we come back. It's the same thing that you ran into. We'll be right back. So, Dr. Shealy, we're talking about several things. One is when we were in California, we started a company that manufactured satellite receivers, those big dish antennas, and we came up with a new invention, and literally patent pending on it at the time. And the cable that ran from the antenna to the receiver in the home was the size of a garden hose. So literally, to bring satellite TV into your home, you'd have to drill like a 1-inch hole in the side of your house, because you couldn't put it under the window and bring this, an open window and then close the window on the cable, because the cable was too big. So we came up with this way of converting the high frequency. Now, back then, C-band satellite transmissions were between 3.7 and 6.4 gigahertz. And we were able to take that signal right at the antenna and convert it down to 70 megahertz, and then use a thin cable called RG58U, and then run that inexpensive cable. It wasn't a couple dollars a foot to something that was just maybe 6 or 7 cents per foot, and run it into the home. So we went to the bank and we said, look, here's what we did. Come on out and look at it. We're going to show you how it works. No one has it. We are the first in the world to build this. And we couldn't get any traction with the bank. The bank said, yeah, okay, so, you guys invented something that's, revolutionary, but, we're not going to lend you any money. So we found some of the kind of interference and resistance that you're talking about. Even though we proved that we had something that no one else had, it was a game changer, but it didn't matter. And I remember leaving that particular meeting with my two partners. One is Andy Gibbs. He's an instructor here, and the other is Bert Bertonis. And I remember looking at them and saying, we just came out of a meeting with the president of the bank in Silicon Valley, California. We showed him that we invented anti-gravity, and he said, yeah, okay, but do you guys have any collateral? That's what it was like. So you've got a tough row to hoe, because there are plenty of people that say no.
Vince, when in the 1500s, the discovery of circulation was discovered, the medical profession absolutely fought it and resisted it. When I first introduced the concept of spinal cord stimulation, the neurosurgeon threw it out the window. Ignaz Philipp Semmelweis had discovered that you had to wash your hands after doing an autopsy and somebody died of peripheral fever. The medical profession rejected it. In other words, every profession, whether it's medicine, science, teaching, whatever, rejects new thoughts because it interferes with their blank, blank, blank sacred space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Same thing happened to Christopher Columbus. Right. He almost had a mutiny, and he almost was killed by the men on his ship, as well as it took years. It took years for him to convince people that the Earth was a sphere. And it's so simple to figure that out. All you have to do is stand on the beach and watch a ship sail away, and all of a sudden you can't see it anymore because it goes over the horizon and then disappears. It's got to be round or a sphere. Dr. Shealy, there's so many things that are happening, and we just had a news report just at the bottom of the hour, and it was something like this. A Fort Worth, Texas police officer was called to check on a residence. And this woman had a house, and her door was ajar. So the neighbor calls the cops and says, hey, there's a door ajar. So the cops come. Woman's in her house. 8-year-old boy's in there also. And the cops kill the woman in her own home. I keep hearing stories like this. A cop comes home, she's drunk, intoxicated at some level, confused, claims she worked a lot of shifts, and goes to the wrong apartment, sees a black man in there and kills him. In his own apartment. This is happening more and more and more. And I keep thinking, last night I lay awake thinking about this and stories like this. It's got to be a result of something. Because I don't ever remember stories like this when I was a child in the 50s and young in the 60s. I don't remember this. I don't remember police pulling guns on people just because. I don't remember police shooting people. I mean, the cops would tussle. They would, before they pulled a gun, they would put the person down, fight with them, wrestle with them. Last thing they wanted to do is shoot him. Now it seems like the first thing they want to do is shoot him. Do you think, and we've asked and discussed this many, many, many times, and I'm wondering what your latest thoughts are. Do you think it's frequencies? Do you think it's the cell phones are putting people like on a hair trigger, on the edge of a hair trigger?
I think we could blame it all on that particular crazy, crazy, crazy technology. It alters your brain, Vince. It damages your brain. It keeps you from thinking deductively instead of, mass reaction.
Uh-huh.
I think cell phones are among the worst invention of the human race, in history of the human race.
I absolutely have to agree with you. And yet, there's so many people, and I think the descriptor is, quote, I know, end quote. And what I mean by that is, when I discuss cell phones with people and tell them how dangerous they are, I know. But they won't stop using them. They won't stop carrying them. They're in their front pocket. They're in their back pocket. They're in their shirt pocket. Guy came to our farm. He had his cell phone in his men's shirt pocket. And I looked at him, and I turned a little sideways, cocked my head, make sure I was seeing what I was seeing. And he looked at me, looked at him. I was like, what? I said, is that a cell phone in your pocket? Yeah. I don't know from here, but is that where your heart is? Is that on the same side? Yeah. Is that like a quarter of an inch away from your heart? Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't seeing things. But you can't tell them. It's impossible to tell them. So I don't even try anymore. I just look. Sometimes I may shake my head. Other times I may just not even shake my head because it's not even worth shaking my head. I don't get it. I just don't understand why people do this. And yet, the first thing they do when they come to your house, they don't come to my house and do this because I don't let them, but they'll come and sit at the kitchen table, take the cell phone out of their pocket and put it on the table and look at the cell phone. Why? Dr. Shealy, I took a page out of your book. And for the last 6 or 8 weeks, I've been on a scaffold 2 levels high with a ladder on top of the scaffold. And I've been determined to finish this house. And one of the rooms is my mom and dad's old bedroom when they were alive. And it had never been finished. It hadn't been painted and still had seams in the sheetrock. And so for 6 or 8 weeks, I've been every couple of days up on the scaffold. I used 10 gallons of spackling compound to get these walls perfect. And I don't have a phone with me. And the phone rings. We have a landline. And I'm not climbing down the scaffold to go get the phone because somebody calls because, they're bored. I'm not going to do that. And it's been a great experience. It is really neat. And people call and say, yeah, I called you. And I go, yeah, I know. Yeah, I heard the phone ring. And I have not gotten the phone because I was busy on a scaffold. And climbing up and down the scaffold is not a lot of fun. It really isn't. I'm hanging off the scaffold on beams and, stretching. And the last thing I want to do is be interrupted. However, people with cell phones allow themselves to be interrupted all the time. Every moment. And including they'll sleep with that stupid thing under their pillow or near their head, so within reach. Because who the heck wants to get out of bed to reach a cell phone? So it's within reach, blasting them all day, all night with electromagnetic radiation, dangerous microwave radiation. But yet, that's okay. They seem to think it's important. So I guess my question is, what is it? What is this hook, this deep, unremovable hook that a cell phone has to make people be that stupid and pay for the phone, as much as $1,000 for a phone, which is like crazy to me, and pay $40, $50, $120 a month just to keep that dumb thing? What is it, Dr. Shealy? Is it
called hypnosis, self-stupid hypnosis.
Okay. How do they unhypnotize themselves?
Right.
Or can they do that? Or is that difficult?
Well, you could if they had a common sense enough to do it, but they didn't have common sense enough to start with. To me, common sense would tell you never to get hooked on a thing. Remember, common sense is the uncommon commodity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was thinking about how crazy things have gotten. Now, this may seem unbelievable, but I know a few people who are selling property right now. And they have either a sign on their property or they have an advertisement. And there is a telephone number. So if you're interested in this property, and I'm not talking about little properties, I'm talking about very significant expenses. Land, homes, those kinds of things. There's a telephone number, and all the people involved with these advertisements, even car advertisements on the internet, selling their car on Craigslist. The same thing is happening to all of them. They get texts about, just short, choppy text. Best offer, question mark, for a car. Or short, choppy text about properties that people want to see. And I've talked to some of these people, and I said, I don't get it. If someone sent me a text and said they want to come to my house on Tuesday or come visit my farm on Tuesday, and they want to come out here and they send me a text, my response is, no, you're not coming. And I would never, ever let somebody come to my farm to show them around because that person sent me a text saying, is Tuesday okay? Tuesday's not okay, because I'm not going to show my property to anybody or my car or anything else. Or if I was selling buckets, empty 5-gallon buckets for $2 a piece, I wouldn't let anybody come to my property until I talked to them. And the reason is I would like to hear the intonation. I would like to hear the lexicon, the language, the dogs barking, the screaming in the background. I'd want to hear who the heck it is and try to figure it out before I let them come over to my house. But that's not the case today because people transact business initially via text. Short, choppy, cryptic texts. The story is something like this. So people are selling devices, equipment, cars, land, farms, their homes on the internet, and or they have signs and they have phone numbers which tie to a cell phone or tie to an email address, and short, choppy information goes from the prospective buyer. Something like, if it's a property for sale, a text may come in, still available, question mark. Now, if that happened to me, and I had a cell phone, which I don't, and someone just said, and I was selling the farm on the internet, and someone just said, still available, question mark, I would respond with something like maple, like maple tree, maple. And then I'd probably get another one that said, still available, question mark, like I must have sent the wrong message, right? And I'd come back with something like 14. Totally irrelevant, totally disjointed, because I would never show the property. I would never let someone on our farm or sell them literally a plastic bucket without hearing them on the phone so that I could figure out if they were D's, Do's, and Dem guys or whether they were legitimate, prospective, interested buyers. Dr. Shealy, what do you think it is that has gotten us to this point where we are unable to communicate, where when we mean you, quote, Y-O-U, end quote, we use the letter U. And instead of typing A-R-E for R-U, we might just use the letter R and then the letter U, because, heck, we can save 4 letters and a space.
Well, Vince, my answering machine says, hi, this is Norm. Thanks for calling. If you're a friend, leave a message. If I do not know you, do not leave more than 2 sentences, any phone number which I may or may not call. 90+% of crap calls do not leave a message.
Isn't that great?
I love my insulting answering machine because when I'm home, I get at least 12 a day that don't leave a message. And that means to me they're all junk calls.
Dr. Shealy, I have your home phone number. And when people say, I'd like to talk to Dr. Shealy, I go, well, I'll tell you what. Monday between 9 and 11 a.m., you may call. We'll pay for the call. I will absolutely not give out your phone number. It's not stored electronically anywhere. It's in one guarded place, and no one's getting it. And if I call you, it's because I have an absolute bona fide reason, and it's darn important, or I don't call because I think your time is valuable, and that's just the way it is. I don't like getting calls when people are bored. They're in their car and they're traveling, and they think it's their duty to call me so I can entertain them while they're bored. I won't do it, Dr. Shealy. I won't do it. And I've come to the same conclusion that I'm not willing to help people I don't know. If I don't know them, it's too late already. I'm not going to help them. I can't help them because I can hardly get done what I need to get done. If I have 2 spare minutes, Mrs. Finelli will look at me and say, get back on that scaffold and finish that room. I don't have time to waste, but other people seem to have time to waste. Our son said it so well. He's in his 30s. And, we're talking about going to the movies. And I said, I don't get it. People go to the movies. And he said, yeah, Dad, it's because they don't have anything better to do.
I think I last went to a movie over 25 years ago.
Right. I'm trying to think. That's about when I went. That's the last time I went. The children were young, and about 25 years ago. I don't even remember what it was, but I do remember Ben-Hur. I remember The Sound of Music, maybe. I don't know if it was on television or whether it was in the movies. That's pretty much my memory of the movies. That's it. Mm-hmm. So, what do you think it is, Dr. Shealy, where we've gotten to throw out most of our lexicon? They used to, the blacks used to have their language called Ebonics. And I remember an English teacher at the high school, public high school, said, no, we need to teach Ebonics. And I looked at her like, you've lost your mind. We already have a language. It's English. What do we need to teach? A subset of that. Conjugate the verb to be. I be, you be, we be. Really? Really? And I refuse to lower our standards here at USA Prepares to that. Do you have when we come back, can you share with us maybe why this is happening in your mind? Why we have reduced our language to less and less and less? Is it laziness? Is it the electromagnetic radiation from the cell phone has wiped out 3/4 of our lexicon? Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. And before we get back to the question I had for Dr. Shealy, what happened to our lexicon, we've got Dan in Texas. Welcome, Dan.
Hi, I just tuned in. So did you say leprechaun?
I said lexicon. And what I've noticed is that there's a whole new language that people have adopted, and it's shortcuts like the letter, if they're texting, the letter B means back. The letter B also means B-E-B, and B ampersand means band. B, the number 2B, means business to business. B2C means business to customer. B and the number 9 means the boss is watching. So, those are the kinds of things I'm talking about. Like, my question for Dr. Shealy is, what the heck happened? How did we get to this point where we have another language within the United States where people have adopted this laziness? Like BME means based on my experience. BL means belly laugh. And so forth. And that's what I was talking about. But you had a question about health?
Yes. Well, first of all, as I look at my little cabinet, I'm looking at some of the things that I think you guys have recommended. Of course, I'm using my magnesium liquid on my back and any aches and pains that I have. Let's see, this Moringa. I found out my friend from my Bible study has been using it for about 10 years, and I thought here I was the first one on the block, so to speak. But I've been using the Moringa now for about, I think, 2 months. I have a few moles on my body, and my wife was concerned about that. And I thought, well, let's see if I can call in and see what Dr. Shealy has to recommend.
Well, to be quite honest, I think the chances are that I would have them surgically removed. There is a place for surgery, and that is one of them, I think. I don't know a safe alternative. If it's a wart, I would put castor oil on it. It can make warts go away, but I've not ever heard of it being used for moles.
Okay. And for the moles, just what type of doctor do you recommend?
Well, actually a plastic surgeon or maybe a dermatologist. Depends on where it is. If it's on your face, I would consider a plastic surgeon. If it's anywhere else in the body, I think a regular general surgeon would be okay.
Okay, great. All right, and let's see. As far as trying to cure any other aches and pains, I think that magnesium liquid has been the best for that. What else would you recommend for people that have aches and pains besides that magnesium?
Well, other than that, there are two things. Number one is regular old tins. It's been around since the 1960s. And I have discovered that, if it's generalized or all over the place, then stimulating two acupuncture points called kidney 1 and bladder 60 on both feet and ankles will often relieve pain anywhere in the body. But if that doesn't work, then the only other I know is our gamma PEMF device. It is superb for all kinds of things, including many types of pain.
Okay. Last question. What are your thoughts on colon cleanse?
I have to say, I've never, ever been able to get into it. I'm not opposed to it. I just, there's something about colonics that I don't care for personally. I think of myself as a surgeon, and I'm not a rectal surgeon.
Okay. So are there things that you would recommend to get rid of things in your upper bowels and your intestines?
Well, just having a regular bowel movement once or twice every day does the job. Now, there are things that can help the whole abdomen function better. That's a castor oil pack over the abdomen. A cloth-coated castor oil placed over the whole abdomen, especially to cover the liver, but the whole abdomen. And I like to put it on and then wrap it around saran wrap around the body and sleep in it all night.
Okay.
But that is the greatest detoxifier that I know.
All right. Well, thank you guys for your time, and keep up the good work.
Well,
Dan, before you leave, can you stay on for a couple seconds? I've got a couple follow-up questions that relate to what you've asked. Okay. Dr. Shealy, Dan was talking about the intestines, and how do you feel about psyllium powder? That's the trade name might be Metamucil, but the actual generic would be psyllium powder without sugar. What do you think about that to make bowel movements easier?
If you have trouble, that is one of that and pectin, grapefruit pectin. Both of them are excellent bulk semi-laxatives, but they do help lubricate the gut again.
Okay, and is that something that you might recommend, once a month or every couple of weeks or 6 months or?
Only if you need it.
Only
if you have a regular bowel movement, a minimum of once a day, you need preferably twice a day. You don't need anything else. Okay.
And sometimes dermatologists use a generic term called like barnacles. And as we get older, we get these little bumps on our skin. How do you feel about, now we're not talking about moles per se, but a barnacle. How do you feel about liquid nitrogen being sprayed by the dermatologist on those to have them, that tissue die off and fall off?
Well, that's one where I would definitely try a castor oil with a Band-Aid with castor oil under it.
Okay. So for barnacles, if we know that they are not cancerous type moles, castor oil, now would that be U.S. Pharmacopoeia USP or?
Regular old castor oil, the kind you put on for massage.
Okay. Now for the cataracts, to catch them early and dissolve them, you've recommended U.S. Pharmacopoeia castor oil with 1 drop in each eye at nighttime. Now, what about organic? Is it necessary to use organic?
Yeah, well, USP is adequate.
USP, okay. All right.
Now, guess what I did? I looked it up. By the way, I hope you haven't gone away. It says here, castor oil alone may be used as an effective natural remedy for getting rid of moles.
Mm-hmm. There you have it.
So, I guess before I saw a dermatologist or surgeon, now I can add that to my list for castor oil. I would put it, a heavy dose under a Band-Aid over the mole and do that every night for a month and see what happens.
Do you think there are any contraindications? If it's not cancerous?
I don't think so. I can't imagine harming anything.
Dan, did that help a little bit?
Oh, definitely. I think just trying to do some of these home remedies and a month or two later, if not, then going to see a dermatologist would be my next step.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm allergic to doctors.
I'm sure you've excluded Dr. Shealy from that allergy list.
They rank up there with microwaves.
Well, I don't know what it is about men, but it seems like we are more doctor averse in doctor's appointments than women are. Dr. Shealy, why is that? Have you found that as well?
Well, I think that we don't like somebody else to have authority over us.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Dan, you mentioned Moringa. I have 4 Moringa trees. They're small, growing in the studio in the window right now because they don't really like to get too cold, and they don't like their feet to get wet. But mine are growing really nicely. And are you growing Moringa?
No,
how are you taking?
I was thinking about doing that here in Texas, but kind of back to your doctor question, I'm not allergic to like the naturopaths and holistic doctors. It's just like I was on the golf course last week and I played golf for a couple holes with this future doctor, and he's just finishing up his 4-year degree and he's going to go to med school. And I was like, I'm curious, in those 4 years, how much time have you studied nutrition? And he goes, none. And I go, thank you.
Well, from what I understand, it's 1 day, and he hasn't gone that 1 day yet. Isn't that about right, Dr. Shealy? 1 day of nutritional classes?
School, it was sort of one sentence mentioning it.
Dan, I have a comment about what you said about golf. Now, from what I understand, golf courses use a lot of chemicals to make that grass as nice as it is. And of course, they use fertilizers, they use insecticides. A lot of chemicals are used on the grass, and probably Roundup around fences and things like that as well. So if I were you, I'd be really, really careful about walking on the grass and then bringing those shoes into my home. Dr. Shealy, have you heard or read or have firsthand experience with diseases, maladies, cancers relating to golfing?
Well, I haven't any statistics on it, but I agree with you totally. I wouldn't want to live near a golf course, let alone walk on it.
And Dan, that's something that used to be a premium. People would say, yeah, I live on a golf course, which meant that there's a golf course in the neighborhood, houses surround the golf course, and it's so convenient because all you have to do is walk out your back door, walk to the clubhouse or just bring your clubs with you, but right there. But the problem is that all the chemicals that are sprayed on the grass and the powdered chemicals that are dropped on the grass by spreaders, they tend to get into the groundwater as well.
Yeah,
and
I think this summer you kind of ruined it for me too, because I used to swim a lot, but after listening to you and Dr. Shealy, I really limited my pool swimming, which I think is healthier for me not to swim now.
Well, unless you have your own pool, and unless you treat your pool with an ionizer, which would be ingots, electrode ingots of silver and copper alloy, and like briquettes, if you will, of silver and copper, and you put a mild current through them. I'm talking about direct current, just a couple volts, maybe 5 volts, and have the water flow through or past those two electrodes, and put in silver and copper ions in the water to disinfect it, and that really works well. So I would consider that, but I don't want to go to a public pool where dirty, filthy people seem to bathe and pee in the pool, or worse. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us, and his website is normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. Telephone number for his office in Springfield, Missouri, 417-351-5221, 417-351-5221. Deborah in Kentucky, welcome. You're on with Dr. Norm Shealy.
Good morning, Vince and Dr. Shealy.
Howdy, what's up?
I've got a couple, 3 just real basic questions about recommendations for quality, like dandelion root tea in bulk. I don't have computer, but I've had some help to try to research. Haven't as of yet been able to find it in bulk. And being as I know that you took an interest in that when Kyle recommended it, I was going to ask for some information about that. And then the quality of it. How do we know that it was hopefully grown in nutrient rich soil? That kind of thing. So I know that it's got value, and I buy it in like 18 tea bags for like $6, and that's like ridiculous, but I love it.
Well, unfortunately, I know primarily that it's good as a diuretic, but I don't know how to find it organic and properly. I haven't looked into which companies are safe.
I've got a question for Deborah. Deborah, do you have interest in growing your own dandelions for your own dandelion salad and dandelion roots in your home, like in a window in a bucket?
I hadn't thought about that. They're all over, in springtime, but of course, most people think that's weeds to get rid of. So, growing in a bucket, that's a fabulous idea.
Well, here's why I'm asking you. So we have a farm, and we don't use chemicals on our farm.
I know that.
And so when we had dandelions going to seed, I took a brown paper bag, and I collected these seeds. And I have a bag of them. And if you want to provide our engineer with your address off the air, I will send them to you.
Oh, you are so dear. Thank you.
Well, it's not really dear. It's
yes,
I'm sending you a bunch of weed seeds.
No, you are dear. I can't go do that for myself. So thank you so much.
Would you like me to do that?
Yes, but can I jump so I don't take too much time on the program?
Just make sure you leave your address with our engineer before you go, okay?
Awesome, Vince.
And don't go away, because I just looked it up on the internet, and I found that now NOW Products makes a dandelion root capsule, and I have to say, in general, I do trust the Now company. I think if they have a product, I often buy it from them.
I'm glad to hear that you recommend Now. How anybody can ever figure out when there's as much pro and con to any subject relating to health or any so-called quality brand of things. It's just amazed that you can't hardly ever find your way through.
Well, I agree. You can buy 3 bottles of 500 milligrams, 100 capsules each, 500 milligrams per capsule, 3 bottles for $17 on Amazon. And
could dump it into hot water if you enjoy it. I love the taste of it.
And, of course, there are dandelion tea. They don't make a dandelion tea probably, but raw organic dandelion root tea is also there.
From Now or for where?
Well, but it's only 20 bags, and it's 40 cents 45 cents a bag. That seems a little expensive to me.
Yeah.
But there's at any rate, you can shop around, but if you want to just get the benefits without the tea, I would certainly trust them.
Well, thank you.
But here's a pound. It says it's Frontier powder, certified organic.
Oh my gosh!
A pound for $24.
Frontier powder?
Yep. Frontier Co-op dandelion root powder.
Frontier Co-op. Okay, I'm going to stay over break. I got a couple more quick ones.
Okay.
Sure. Tomorrow, it's just going to be 3 of us in the studio, a couple of Colts and me, and I'll be sharing for 2 hours my tips and the way I do things here at the farm, the way the Finelli family does things. So if you're interested in that, and it's going to be a broadcast tomorrow, just 2 hours. And if you're an instructor and you'd like to call in, and if you've got, or if you're in the class and you'd like to call in, you've got a better way of doing things, I'd love to hear from you. And that's tomorrow. And also I'm going to do the same thing on Friday, second hour. So tips, the way we do things, tomorrow, Tuesday, and Friday, second hour. And one last thing, we've been talking about dandelions, and I remember my mom in the 1950s and 60s, she had this tool, and it had kind of like a knife, but a fork edge at the same time, and she would put it in on a diagonal into the soil, and it would cut the roots of dandelions, and she would take them, and she would make salads, wash the dirt off, and soak the dandelion leaves, and into the salad they would go. Dr. Shealy, any comments about that tool? Then they're available. It's called
I had one of those. It seems to be when I was growing up, but I don't remember having one since then.
Yeah, and that was back in the 50s and 60s. So it's a tool with a handle like a trowel would have.
No, I remember
it has
it well.
A shaft.
But actually, in my case, it would have been in the 40s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't remember the 40s. I remember the 50s. But so I did want to mention that. So Deborah, make sure that you leave your address with our engineer. And you had a couple more things you wanted to share?
Deborah?
That's my fault. Yeah, Deborah, you had a couple things you wanted to share?
A couple more basic questions.
Sure.
Dr. Norm, the other thing I've been wondering about is a quality bone-building supplement, and I've heard you recommend a tablespoon or 2 a day, and we've done a little bit of research, probably not as thorough as what I would do if I could do it on my own, but a lot of times there's lead and just not the quality that should go into our bodies. So I would so appreciate what you would have to say about
well, again, I take 2 tablespoons every day of beef gelatin from Now Products.
Okay, beef gelatin.
And
all right.
Then I also, if you're interested for bone, you want boron. 9 milligrams to 12 milligrams a day of boron.
Just as a side, with having to spend unnecessary time with that. Would a quarter of a teaspoon of borax and a goodly amount of water on a fairly regular basis be okay?
I don't know. I cannot compare, because I have not compared borax with pure boron.
Okay.
I take boron capsules, and again, they're now products. Sounds like I'm pushing now today, but if I get now, I like it.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. We all need some help. And then on a regular basis, do you take boron like every day or just now and then?
Every day.
So it's real important.
Yeah, it's essential for getting the magnesium and the calcium into your bone properly.
Excellent. And then is the beef gelatin from Now bulk?
Yeah, it comes in pound packages.
Okay.
In fact, I order a year's supply. I order 12 bags at a time directly from the company.
That's awesome. And then I was going to ask you about diatomaceous earth. Like for a long time, I took it on a daily basis, and then the other side is that you could be doing damage by overdoing that. What would you have to say about diatomaceous earth, Dr. Shealy?
And I agree. I think it does have some advantages against parasites especially, but I'm concerned about its possible long-term negative effects, so I don't do it to it. I think wormwood compound is a much better thing to prevent parasites.
Wormwood compound.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But diatomaceous earth just for just a period of intentional cleansing, but not as a continual daily supplement.
Exactly.
That's wonderful. Can I have one more little bit of preciousness? Rosemary being recommended for tremendous help for brain. What would you say about like the inhalation through right nostril from rosemary oil, or primarily just get it in your diet on a tremendous...
Well, interestingly, there's some evidence that lots and lots and lots of rosemary is good for your whole body. And so I think as an herb, it's fine. I don't particularly know about the oil. I don't do much. I don't inhale any oil personally, but I do like rosemary as a supplement.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Well, I won't keep you so that you can get on with, I treasure every word that I hear coming out of both of you. So have a wonderful day, and thank you so much, and love you much.
Thank you.
Deborah, we love you too, but we do need your zip code, so stay with our engineer until we get your zip code. But I did have a comment about diatomaceous earth. And so these are kind of like the consistency. Diatomaceous earth is this white powder. It's kind of like the consistency of flour. It has a lot of silica in it. And these were animals that left their shells behind and died, thousands of years ago.
Yes.
And it's accumulated and ground up, and you don't want to breathe it. You absolutely do not want to breathe this dust because it can cause something called silicosis in your lungs. Now, the way it works, and I'm saying this for our class's benefit, the way diatomaceous earth works, when it's ground up, it has these broken glass-like edges. And when parasites get near it, they get sliced up. And they get cut up and they die. And that's how it works. So it's not like consuming a chemical. It's like consuming very, very finely ground shards of glass. Now you can rub it between your fingers and it's not going to cut you. But a small parasite trying to crawl over it, they don't make it. So intact. So that's kind of how it works. Would you agree with that, Dr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So the concern is overdoing it. You could be slicing up, your internals. Now just keep that in mind. However, we did a study with that, and we found that hair grew like crazy. When people took it, their hair grew like crazy, and they felt better. And so some people would take, a teaspoon in a glass of water, stir it up, drink it, chase it with another glass of water. And so those are my thoughts on diatomaceous earth. And one other thing. There are two grades of it. One is a food grade, and the other is not food grade. So you can buy a 25-pound bag of it and use it for your pool filter if you have a diatomaceous earth pool filter, and that's what we had. And it is the best pool filtration there is. However, you have to keep adding diatomaceous earth and then flushing it out when it gets all plugged up.
And it's also good for dusting your plants to get rid of butterfly, the cabbage butterfly family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, insects don't like it either. So, yes. And I imagine you could put a little bit in your dog's food, and, a small amount, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon every once in a while. Do your research before you do it, and maybe it would help them eliminate their parasites. So I'm going to do a little bit more research before I do it, and don't do it because I mentioned it. Do it after you've considered the research. And that goes with everything that we say here on USA Prepares. Do your own research. And there is a tool for the garden. It's called a dandelion weeder, weeder. And they've got them on long poles like shovel handles, and they have them on short handles like for trowels. So anywhere from, let's say $8 to $31, depending on, what you choose. Deborah, please stay with us. Unless you have anything else, we'd just like to get your zip code.
Will do.
Okay. All right, I'm going to put you on hold, and Alex will take your zip code, and I will get it in the stack, which is our internal communication system between GCN and me here at the studio in Missouri. Thank you, Deborah. Okay. Dr. Shealy, Moringa. So I planted the Moringa seeds. They're growing nicely. And what I did was I didn't have a pot for them. So I took the equivalent of milk jugs. These were water jugs, distilled water jugs. We buy cases of it at a time for our battery bank. And I cut off the top part, and I made little, like, flower pots out of them because it's the right size for the trees at this point. What do we do when these trees get to be 4 or 5 feet tall? What do we do with the moringa?
Mine are 4 feet tall now, and I topped them the other day.
Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. Hold it. Are you 4 feet tall?
I've got 4 of them that are 4 feet tall.
Okay. What's the secret? Like, mine are only 2 feet tall.
Well, I don't know, Vince. I just planted them when you sent them to me, and they've grown like weeds.
Well, I gave... maybe I shouldn't have given mine milk. Maybe I shouldn't have given mine...
I did not give mine milk. I just put them in plain old planting, a pot. Big pot.
Potting soil, yeah. Well, I tried, I wanted to see if they liked coffee, so I gave them some coffee. I wanted to see if they liked milk, sour milk. I gave them some of that. They didn't like the milk too much. But 4 feet, that's impressive. I'm going to start over without milk and coffee, see what happens. See who wins the race. Dr. Shealy, in the United States, obesity, we are almost victorious in the obesity race. We're only beaten by Mexico, Poland, and Russia. But we are, number 4 in fat in the United States, according to most of the countries that have been surveyed, because we have lost the 4th most years of our life based on obesity, and we're looking at about 4 years. England's not so bad. They've only lost 3.5 years. Any comments about that? What did we do?
We are, beyond belief. I mean, every time I travel, I notice it just in the airport, on the planes, etc. 70%, over 70% of Americans are overweight, and well over 35 or 37% of people are just plain fat, obese, true fat. That means a body mass index of 40 or above. I'm 30 or above, 40 pounds or more overweight.
Uh-huh. All right, Deborah, I'll look up your zip code. I think you can disconnect now if you'd like. So we're talking about obesity with Dr. Shealy. So the years of life that have been lost through obesity, through this study, is Mexico 4.2 years, shorter life expectancy because of obesity. Poland 3.9, Russia 3.9, U.S. 3.7. So we're number 4 in the race to lose our life expectancy. Hungary 3.7, Latvia 3.6, Chile 3.5, Croatia 3.5, Czech Republic 3.5, Romania 3.5. But then we get to Canada 3, United Kingdom 2 3/4, Spain 2.6, Belgium 2 1/4. So not only are we getting dumber, we're getting fatter, and we are losing our life expectancy. So
Actually,
of the 36 countries, yes.
If you are truly 40 pounds or more overweight, your life expectancy is decreased the same amount as someone who smokes 3 packs a day. That is, your average person dies 18 years younger because of when you're really obese.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Shealy, when I am 2 pounds overweight, I bought one of those. I bought one of those scales that they see in doctors' offices. As a matter of fact, it was at a thrift store, and it was marked. There was a sticker that said it was calibrated by the hospital. It's like brand new. I don't know why. It only goes to 350 pounds. Maybe that's the reason they got rid of it and donated it to this thrift store. But I bought it for $30. It's in our house. I use it every day because I think it's absolutely as accurate as could be for, an individual or a family to have. It's one of those balance type scales. You slide the weights. But when I'm 2 pounds overweight, I don't like it. I just don't like it. And I exercise more and I eat less. And that's what I do. And I just can't imagine being 40 or 50 pounds. I mean, that's like a bag of dog food, carrying that around with me all the time. I wouldn't want to do that.
I estimate that on a plane, and I have traveled a lot recently, at least 40% of the people are not just overweight, they are 50 to 100 pounds overweight.
Mm-hmm. I think it'd be fair to the rest of us to have a surcharge. I mean, they charge for baggage, right?
I like it. It must take a lot more gasoline.
Well, they use more fuel. Yes, they do. They have trimmed airplanes down as much as they can by trying to remove excess weight. We all know that if you carry a bunch of junk in the trunk of your car, it will impact mileage negatively. So don't carry junk that you don't need in the trunk of your car to get better fuel economy. Same thing with an airplane. Same thing with all transportation devices. If you try to ride a bicycle and you've got a backpack that's really heavy, it's harder to get up hills. We all know that. So why not lose that weight? But, Dr. Shealy, I bought a car from a guy, and I just love this car. It's a 1996 Mercedes diesel. And the guy was overweight. I talked to him, and I said, I'll tell you what, on Monday, between 9 and 11, you can call Dr. Shealy, and he has type 2 diabetes. And I asked him to call you. And I told him I'd put him right on the air, and he could talk to you. And he told me he loves bread, and he will continue eating bread and continue having type 2 diabetes because he will not put the bread down. He won't do it. But he's not alone.
Well, that's at the top of my list of poison foods.
But he won't stop. And it's the cell phones, it's the sugar, it's the bread, it's the pasta, the sandwiches, the deli meats, the salami, the pepperoni, the bacon.
Oh, junk.
People, but they can't stop. They can't stop. So back to my question about the lexicon being changed by cell phone types. Do you have a feel for what's causing it? Is it just the laziness? Is it the same thing as not cooking dinner because it's too hard to actually use real words?
It is actually, I think, a form of hypnosis. You can use flashing lights of various kinds to put people into a hypnotic trance. Mm-hmm. And I think cell phones are the ultimate hypnotizer.
Mm-hmm. One more question. What should my dear friend who had her legs amputated do to regain health as quickly and effectively as possible? What should she do? She's 90.
Wow. Well, the single most important thing is do autogenic training.
Okay. And how about supplements?
Well, my basic essentials, youth formula, and astaxanthin.
Youth formula, astaxanthin, and Dr. Shealy's essentials.
Yep.
Okay, I will tell her. I'll be talking to her tonight. Class, if you would consider offering prayers, if you decide that that's something you'd like to do. Her name is Sunny Skidmore, and she's an owner of KLID AM 1340 in Poplar Bluff. She had her legs amputated. Dr. Shealy, thank you so much for being with us. See you next week.
Have a good one.